Okay, hi everyone. So this is the last lecture on medically important bacteria. Okay, at the first part of the lecture, we will be looking at gram-negative cocci and gram-negative bacilli. Okay, one of the important member of gram-negative cocci is Nesuria. So Nesuria is a gram-negative diplococci and it is a non-endospore forming bacteria. So diplo means two cells can attach together, and it also can be found either aerobic or facultative anaerobic. Usually it is parasitic for human mucous membrane, which is including the one found in lungs and also urethra. So one of the important member of Nesuria genus is Nesuria gonorrhea, so which is the causative agent for gonorrhea, which is a sexually transmitted disease. And usually the transmission is much rampant due to the female partner can be asymptomatic. And another member of this genus is Nesuria meningitis. So it is a causative agent of meningococcal meningitis. The other members of gram-negative cocci is Brucella and Bordetella. I think perhaps you can read this on your own. Okay, let's move on to the gram-negative aerobic bacilli. And one of the medically important genus of this gram-negative aerobic bacilli is Pseudomonas. Pseudomonas widely spread in soil, water, and other environments. So Pseudomonas is motile using a polar flagella as shown in this figure. So the most important species of bacteria in this genus is Pseudomonas aeruginosa. And Pseudomonas aeruginosa can produce a blue-green pigment which is known as a phyocyanin. So you can see the Pseudomonas colony here, it looks bluish green. And then usually Pseudomonas can cause infection in immunosuppressed patients, which is including under heavy medication patients or patients with HIV. So example of disease it can cause is urinary tract infection, burn and wound infection, and septicemia. And Pseudomonas infection is also known as a hospital-acquired infection, therefore it called as a hospital bug. So Pseudomonas also usually resistant to most of the antibiotics. Okay, the following group is gram-negative facultative anaerobic bacilli. And one of the important genus in this group is Salmonella. So all Salmonella are pathogenic. And one of the important member of Salmonella is Salmonella typhi, which is an organism that can cause typhoid fever, which is an acute infectious disease of digestive tract. And Salmonella typhi can survive for a long time and is transmitted to human through water and food. And another bad thing about Salmonella is that it is able to exist and grow inside phagocytes, the immune cells, unlike other cells which usually killed by the phagocytes. And then apart from that, the phagocytosis of the cells will also help the cells to be transported to other tissue of the human body. And then symptoms of Salmonella infection or typhoid fever is including sustained fever, relatively slow pulse, toxic symptoms, a rose color rash, splenomegaly, hepatomegaly, as well as leukopenia. And usually the bacteria can be transmitted from the patient or the carrier which carry the bacteria in their fecus. Okay, the following group is gram-negative anaerobic bacteria. An important genus from this group is bacteroids. And genus Bacteria represent a large group of microbes in the human intestine. And bacteria are usually non-endospore forming and non-motile bacteria. It is a frequent cause of peritonitis. So peritonitis is a condition where a large bulk of bacteria in the human intestine. Okay, we focus on the obligate intracellular parasites. Okay, obligate intracellular bacteria. Intracellular bacteria are bacteria that are capable of growing and reproducing inside the cells of a host, so which is a eukaryotic cell when it comes to the human infection. So one of the important genus from this cluster is genus Chlamydia. So genus Chlamydia are a small group of non-motile cocoid bacteria that are obligate intracellular parasite of eukaryotic cells. Chlamydia bacteria are also lack of a peptidoglycan layer and could not able to carry out or have a limited ATP synthesis. Chlamydia is often related to eye infection, and for example, inclusion conjunctivitis. So inclusion conjunctivitis can be transmitted to newborns' eyes, and the transmission can also happen through the birth canal, and sometimes it's also spread through swimming pool water. And another infection is trachoma. So trachoma is the greatest cause of blindness worldwide. So we have already covered this part of the medically important bacteria. So let's move to flexible bacteria, or also known as spirochetes. Okay, let's look at the general characteristic of spirochetes. So spirochetes are typically called tight or stretched. Spiral length usually vary between a few to 500 micrometer, and they are found in contaminated water, sewage, soil, decaying matter, and within the human and animal bodies. And they're usually motile, using an axial filament. They don't have flagella. And one of the problems with spirochetes is they cannot be cultured in vitro, therefore the diagnosis becomes a hurdle. And they may be aerobic, facultative anaerobic, or anaerobic. And good thing is that they're sensitive to heavy metals and penicillins. And another issue with the spirochetes is they're extremely thin and they cannot be stained. Therefore, you need to use a dark field microscope to see them. So spirochetes bacteria has three pathogenic genera. So the first one is Treponema, which causes syphilis, which is a sexually transmitted disease, and usually Treponema species sensitive to dryness, heat, and penicillin. The second one is Borrelia, which causes a Lyme disease, or also known as a Lyme borreliosis, and it is transmitted by tick or lice. It is a zoonosis disease. And the following one is Leptospira, which causes leptospirosis. Okay, we are at the end of the topic, which is a lacking cell walls bacteria. Okay, Mycoplasma. Mycoplasma species or genus Mycoplasma are one of the genus in the lacking cell wall bacteria. So initially, Mycoplasma species thought to be virus. They're mostly aerobic and facultative anaerobic, free-living prokaryotic organisms. They appear filamentous that resembles the fungi. So whereby myco means fungus. They have both extracellular and intracellular parasitism in vivo. They can grow in vitro if meet their fastidious growth requirement. So the most significant pathogen from Mycoplasma species is Mycoplasma pneumonia. It is a causative agent for primary atypical pneumonia, which is a disease of upper respiratory tract and involved with the lungs as other pneumonia do. This bacteria is inhibited by various antibiotics but not by penicillin groups. And Mycoplasma is also a #1 enemy of cell culture. So cell culture is a technique where you're growing eukaryotic cells, where you will learn more in detail in your second year. So finally, we are done with the medically important bacteria. So as usual, if you have any question, please post in the e-learning and then we will discuss in the live session.